Rather good afternoon, everyone. And it's indeed a pleasure to be addressing all of you. Uh, my name is Rishi Nathani, and as Puram said, I am the head of business development and marketing at MCX. Today, I will be speaking with all of you regarding commodities as an asset class and how we can approach commodities, because commodities overall are somehow not very well understood or known by most investors. So I thought that and I thank AIWMI and IAIF for this opportunity to speak, because we can speak on this very attractive asset class called commodities today. So basically, I'll start with what are commodities. It's a distinct asset class with returns which is independent of other asset classes, such as bonds or equities. Now, commodities are unique in a manner because they are the underlying is tangible, and yet they are financialized. So, for example, in equities or bonds or bonds, you don't have any physical asset per se. Everything is dematerialized. In commodities, while the underlying asset is cannot be dematerialized, it is there. On top of it, financial structures are created like derivatives, so that one can trade these commodities effectively while the underlying commodities are there in the warehouses. So it suits the human psyche to trade commodities to a large extent, and we all know the Indian love for gold. And it's not only the Indians, but worldwide there is a lot of demand for gold from China and various countries. Another advantage of commodities is that it has a negative correlation to most other asset classes. So, for example, if you take equities or bonds, you will see, or currencies, you will see that equities will move in the opposite direction, especially over longer holding periods. Now, this makes commodities a very, very attractive addition to anyone's portfolio, for the simple reason that for portfolio diversification and to reduce the risk in the portfolio, commodities, if added to any investment portfolio, will help give you returns when the other asset classes are not doing so well, and vice versa. Now, especially in periods of inflation, commodities do very well when stocks and bonds don't do so well. And commodities are a natural hedge against inflation, because actually inflation to a large extent is also driven by commodity prices. So if you have commodities in your portfolio, then naturally you will be hedged to a large extent against inflation. Now, there are soft commodities and hard commodities. So, for example, you have the perishable commodities like agricultural products, which are known as soft commodities. And then you have the durable commodities like bullion, metals, and oil, which are durable commodities. Now, all these commodities are a raw material for economic activity. So, commodities basically drive the economic activity in any country. And many nations have been built on commodities, and as we are aware, many historical battles have been fought only for commodities. So, commodities are the reason why any country which controls major commodities has a strong say in the global arena. Now, commodities also touch our daily lives in the sense that whatever we are eating, wearing, the house we live in, the car we drive, everything is related to commodities. So, if you can look around you, you will find all the commodities most of the commodities that are traded on the exchanges. Now, coming to an interesting fact which I wanted to share with you is that in terms of global trading, while the global trading of equities and derivatives is 48% and commodities is 24%, in India, the trading volumes of commodities is around 3%, whereas equity and derivatives are around 91%. So there is a long way to go for commodity trading in India to pick up, and we are very hopeful that commodity trading in India will pick up as we go forward. So in terms of commodities as an asset class, there are three main perspectives for commodities, why one should approach commodities. As I said earlier, one is portfolio diversification, because adding commodities to your portfolio will reduce your overall portfolio volatility, increase your risk adjusted returns of the portfolio while enhancing your investment options. And every wealth manager would ideally like to have more and more generic asset classes to a portfolio, and considering commodities as a part of a portfolio will always help. Think of it as a balanced meal. In a balanced meal, you will not only have one item, you will have 4 5 items, and you need your proteins, carbohydrates, fats, etc. So commodities, when added in your portfolio, help in creating a balanced portfolio. The second reason why commodities should be added to your portfolio is inflation protection. And that is very important because, as I said, uh, adding commodities to your portfolio helps in protecting against inflation. And the third is, of course, trying to make absolute returns on your investments. And ideally, an important reason like which differentiates commodities from other asset classes is that unlike other asset classes, most of the participants in commodity markets are people who are there from the industry. So they come to hedge their production or consumption. So there is, apart from them, there is ample scope. So these are called the hedgers. And apart from them, there's ample scope for investors in commodity markets because the competition is not as fierce, if I may, be bold enough to say that. But of course, always remember that all investments are subject to market risks, and commodities also are subject to market risks. There is no asset class which can give you any guaranteed returns. So please, whenever you, if at all you want to approach commodities and you want to trade in commodities, please do your homework, please do your study, and then approach these markets in an informed manner. Now, just again, I would share one statistic is that from 1970 to 2015, the returns on the Bloomberg Commodity Index had a very low correlation with US equities, as represented by the S&P 500 index, and a correlation of close to zero to global bonds, which was represented by the Barclays Global Aggregate Index. So there is proof that commodities has a very inverse sort of correlation with equities and bonds. However, equities was positively correlated with the US Consumer Price Index. So in our country also, we have the CPI and WPI, and so commodities generally track these indices. Here in India, between 2016 and March 2020, the correlation between the MCX iCondex Composite Index and the NSE Nifty was 15%, which goes to show that, again, that even in India, commodities have a very negative or very low positive correlation with equities. Now, in the past, investing in commodities was a challenge. The reason why was that in case you wanted to invest in commodities, ideally you would have to get truckloads of commodities to your house, especially on the bulkier commodities or the lower value commodities. And where would you store them? And plus, perishability was a concern. So therefore, investors used to seek investing in equities of the companies which dealt in these commodities. However, commodity related, okay, someone's asking me to go slow. Okay, so I will speak a bit slower. So commodity related equities may not ideally give you the returns the commodities themselves fetch. For example, if an oil producer, and if suppose the oil prices are going up and an oil producer has already hedged his production, for example, Mexico had hedged their entire production and at around $49 a barrel or something, I'm not sure the exact price. But if someone is already hedged and had the prices gone up, then that upside would not have been captured. So normally, an investor in an equity stock of a commodity manufacturer or trader would not know what the exposures of that company would be. So ideally, you may or may not get those returns. Also, they might have other businesses where those businesses will also reflect on their stock performance. Therefore, approaching commodities by investing commodities through commodity derivatives is a better option, uh, which I will explore with you as we go forward. In fact, the study is that commodity-related equities are more highly correlated to equities rather than commodities. Now, there are various ways in which we can invest in commodities. So there are, first of all, there are derivative contracts. So you can buy or sell futures or buy or write options. So that's one option you have, which you can do on the various commodity exchanges or the commodity segments of the other exchanges. The second option is that you approach mutual funds, and commodity-based funds typically use derivative instruments to build their exposure to commodities. So in case you do not have the expertise or skill set, you can leave it up to the fund manager to take a call for you and invest on your behalf into commodities through mutual funds. We already have a mutual fund running, and we are hoping that some more will join very soon in commodities, also in India. Uh, and also there are various ETFs for gold. Now, globally, there are examples of mutual funds which invest in commodities either through an index fund or which are actively managed. For example, there's an Invesco Balanced Risk Commodity Strategy Fund, which is a long-short mutual fund. And if I give you names, I'm not, let me give a disclaimer, I'm not recommending any investments to you. This is not about recommending any investments. Please take informed decisions before you approach any asset class or any investment. This is just for knowledge sharing. Then there are also funds which track the various indices and invest basis the indices. There are a couple of large indices, the Goldman Sachs indices and the Bloomberg Commodity Index. So many funds track them. In India also, as I said, we've recently seen Tata Mutual Fund come out with a multi-asset fund where they'll be investing around 25% of the AUM in commodity derivatives. Uh, uh, this No, I do not have a presentation to share with you. I am just speaking, so sorry for that. There is no presentation which I am sharing right now. So Tata Mutual Fund will be investing certain part. I'm not sure exactly how much, but they'll be investing some part of their AUM in commodity derivatives. And there are other mutual funds which will be coming out with their offerings very soon, hopefully. Now, again, a way to invest in commodities is through ETFs. Now, globally also there are various ETFs, and in India also you will see many mutual funds having gold ETFs. Hopefully, down the line, as we go ahead over the years, we'll have ETFs in more commodities also. Then you can invest in commodities through AIFs. This is for more sophisticated investors because the minimum joining ticket size is quite large. But AIFs, there are certain advantages also and disadvantages from for participating through AIFs, which I will share with you as we go forward. And then you can, if you do not know or do not want to invest in certain specific commodities, then you can approach the commodity markets through commodity indices. Now, at present, we do not have trading in them. However, SEBI has issued the guidelines, and hopefully we will have trading in commodity index futures very soon. And once we have that, you can approach the commodity markets through index futures. We have a composite index, and we have certain sectoral indices, which I will speak about as we go ahead. Now, as I said, there are risks of investing in commodities. Commodities may not perform well during cyclical downturns, especially when there's downturn in the global economy and the consumer and industrial demand is slowing. They can also be affected by political, regulatory, and natural conditions, and may not be suitable for all investors. So please bear that in mind, that there might be periods of underperformance as and when you approach commodities, like any other asset class. Now, let me speak a bit about the commodity derivative markets in India, especially. So the commodity derivative markets are not very different in terms of structure or in terms of functioning as the other popular derivative markets, such as equity derivative markets. Now, these are platforms for price discovery. Now, this is very important, especially for economic activity, because when a farmer produces the grain or whatever farm produce, and the exchange helps discover the price for it for many of these commodities. Also for bullion industry, for metals, they use the exchange price as a reference. Today, many jewelers benchmark their pricing against the exchange pricing. Many industries using the base metals benchmark their base metal prices against the exchange pricing. So a lot of physical trade or happens through so sorry yeah, a lot of physical trade happens basis the reference price of the exchange. Also what happens is that the commodity exchanges help in giving out long-term price signals for the market, so helps to plan production or consumption. For example, if say the price of a certain metal is X, then the producer knows that if I produce and the price is X, at least this is what I should be getting. And then they can hedge their future production by selling the futures so that they are locked into a price. Because end of the day, the business of a manufacturer is not to play on the price movements, rather to play on the conversion cost. So if the input cost is X and the futures is trading at Y, which is X plus, then they can easily hedge at Y and do their production and lock in their profits. Now, this is a very, very important part of commodity markets, which helps commodity markets function and helps the overall economy and industrial activity go on. Similarly, for a input, so for example, there's a biscuit manufacturer, they would want to buy sugar, they would want to buy wheat, or a fan manufacturer, they would want to buy aluminium or copper. They can also hedge the input costs, knowing that, because, for example, if you're selling a packaged product, you cannot keep changing the MRP every week or month or so. So what happens is that you don't make supernormal profits, you don't make supernormal losses, but you make normal profits by hedging your production or consumption through the commodity derivative markets. Another reason why hedging is so important is that there is heightened volatility across the globe, so you see various world leaders tweeting, you see geopolitical upheavals. So hedging is very necessary to make sure that your profits are locked and you are very safe. Also, in this uncertain scenario and in various uncertain scenarios, you see that there are a lot of currency movement and currency depreciation. There also certain commodities like gold, which is seen as a store of value, are very useful because they are resilient against these currency changes. And yes, so someone's asking a question that do FMCG companies hedge their production? Yes, they do. I didn't see the whole question, but I just saw that line. Okay. Now, like other commodity derivative, like other derivative markets, like the equity derivative markets, the structure of the commodity derivative markets. Yes, currencies are different from commodities. So among the various asset classes, you have equities, you have fixed income, you have commodities, you have currencies, and you might have real estate, insurance, etc. So yeah, we'll take the questions at the end so that we will be able to answer everyone properly. Don't worry, we'll have more than enough time to take your questions. So the structure of a commodity derivative market is that you have the regulator, which is SEBI in this case, and below the regulator lies the exchange. So I'm from MCX, which is the exchange. We have a clearing corporation called the MCX Clearing Corporation Limited. Then we have clearing members who clear their own trades or the trades of trading members. And as a support structure for institutions, we have custodians, for everyone, we have clearing banks, and the entire markets are hinged on the spot markets as well. Now, let me take a step back and share with you a bit of the history of commodity markets in India. Now, commodity markets have been around for a long time, and in India, commodity trade is very old. It is only in the electronic form that it is new. So earlier, from maybe long time ago, we started the barter system with goods and animals. Then the European voyages of discovery made internationalize the commodity trade globally. Now, the first commodity exchange, CBOT, Chicago Board of Trade, was founded in 1848. And not much later in India, the Bombay Cotton Trade Association in 1875, which was an organized futures markets. Then we had oilseeds in 1900 and gold futures in 1920 in India. In 1952, the Forward Contract Regulation Act was made, and the Forward Markets Commission, which basically was regulating commodities, started in 1953. In 1960, commodities trading was banned. It was lifted in 1980, and the National Electronic Commodity Exchanges started in around 2002-03. In 2015-16, a very interesting development happened. SEBI, which was the regulator for other financial assets, was also made the regulator for the commodity derivatives markets. And once SEBI took over, a lot of changes have happened, which I will discover. MCX is one of the leading commodity derivative exchanges in India. We have a 94% market share. Other commodity derivatives exchanges are NCDEX, ICX, then NSE and BSE also offer commodity derivatives. The MCX turnover for the previous fiscal was more than 32,000 crores single-sided. And we have grown very well in the last few years, thanks to the various market participants and the regulator for encouraging us to grow the way we have and enabling that growth. So we thank all our stakeholders for enabling and helping in that growth. Now, after SEBI took over as regulator, the first thing that was done was that the compliance, risk management systems, and everything was strengthened and brought up to the same level as the equity markets and various other derivative markets. Now, this initially was a bit, for the market, a bit of a challenge, but as the market took this challenge up and raised the standards, it is benefiting the market tremendously, because we have seen that the turnover of the markets have grown, the participation of the markets, the confidence of investors in the markets has grown tremendously in the past few years. The first thing SEBI allowed was that the integration of broking licenses. So earlier what was happening is that if there was a broker A, then they had two entities, broker ABC, then they had ABC Commodities and ABC Equities maybe. So then SEBI allowed that they could hold all licenses under one entity itself. This helped a lot because this led to margin fungibility, reduced costs, reduced the duplication of costs at the broker end, and also helped clients to freely trade across segments. So this was one of the watershed moments for the commodity markets. Then SEBI also allowed universal exchanges, which meant that all exchanges could offer commodity trading. Then RBI also chipped in and allowed banks as professional clearing members in the commodity markets, and also permitted the bank broking subsidiaries to set up offer the services in commodity derivatives. Then category 3 AIFs were permitted, portfolio management services were permitted, mutual funds, then custodians were enabled to help these mutual funds, AIFs and PMSs. In terms of products, we were allowed options. So at MCX, we have very vibrant option contracts in 5 commodities. And in principle, guidelines have been issued on index futures, and we're hopeful that very soon we'll also have index futures in the commodity markets. Now, on MCX, let me share the product suite we have. We have gold, we have silver, and gold is in various denominations: 1 kg, 100 grams, 8 grams, and 1 gram. We have silver 30 kgs, 5 kgs, and 1 kg. Then we have aluminium, copper, lead, nickel, zinc in the base metal category. In the energy, we have crude oil and natural gas. In the agricultural commodities, we have cotton, mentha oil, kapas, crude palm oil, and cardamom. Now, let us take an example. Suppose as a lay investor, you want to buy gold. Now, there are various options available before you. One is that you go and buy it from your neighborhood shop or some jeweler. So you will buy physical gold. Now, there are certain issues you might encounter with them, is that quality, storage, pricing, etc. Secondly, you could look at gold mining shares, but as I said, the shares of equities do not have such a good correlation to commodities. So historically, it could go as low as 0.5 or 0.6, 50 or 60% correlation. Then you could approach a gold ETF, or you could take an exposure to gold futures. Now, if you take an exposure to gold futures on commodity exchanges, you have various options available before you. You can keep rolling over your futures by paying a contango, if there is a contango, or a backwardation, as the case may be. Or you can take demat delivery by taking demat delivery of your gold, or you can ask for physical delivery. So there are various options when you approach a commodity exchange, and the quality and quantity is guaranteed. So you can be rest assured in that regard. Now, since mutual funds have been permitted, let me just share with you that a little bit about what the mutual funds have been permitted to do. So 3 types of mutual fund schemes are allowed to participate in commodity derivatives. So you have hybrid schemes, multi-asset schemes, and you have the ETFs. Hybrid schemes can invest a maximum of 10% of the corpus in commodities, multi-asset 30%, and gold ETFs 50%. They need a dedicated commodity fund manager, they need a custodian, and they cannot invest in sensitive commodities. And if they take physical delivery, they can hold it for 30 days, except for gold ETF. They're not allowed to short commodities. They can only go long to the extent of the money they have in the scheme. And another thing to clarify is that foreign investors, except for eligible foreign entities who are hedgers, and NRIs are not allowed to invest in commodities as on date. I hope I'm audible now. Someone just wrote that they're not being able to hear me. So let me just speak about the potential of the mutual funds to invest in commodity markets in India. Now, assuming the 10%, 30% and 50% across the hybrid, multi-asset, and the gold ETFs, a total of roughly 39,000 crores can be invested by mutual funds in commodity markets. I mean, there can be an AUM of 39,000 crores roughly, and we've sourced it from the AMFI monthly bulletin of May 2019. So we are very hopeful and very excited to see the institutionalization of participation in the commodities markets. Now, normally in any market, you would see that the institutions and the large players come in, and then the retail follow. But in commodity markets, due to there has a slightly inverted structure in terms of participation due to historical reasons, that first hedgers and investors were allowed, and now institutional participants are coming in. But what it will do is that, so better late than never, but it will do is it will lead to a large increase in depth and participation and liquidity in the commodity markets. So the reason why is that till now you had a lot of large hedgers who wanted to hedge and were potentially there. There was a latent supply side, but there was no long only money in the commodities markets apart from the investors, retail investors. Now, when you have institutions coming in, there'll be a lot of long only money coming in, then the latent supply will also be met, and the overall participation and the liquidity and depth in commodity markets will also keep increasing, hopefully. Now, given the fact that and a gold ETF can invest 50% of their assets in through commodity futures, we just did a study, and it was seen that they can get better returns through investing in gold futures rather than only investing in physical gold, because the cost of carry historically of gold futures has been less than the opportunity cost of the money they had, and up to 2% returns can be increased extra from going from 100% gold physical gold holding to a 50-50 of gold physical gold and 50% of gold futures. Another advantage of base metals, I would like to say, is that mostly in India, all the industries borrow at sizable costs, and many have to carry the inventory, and carrying inventory entails a lot of interest cost. Now, very recently, we made all our base metal contracts deliverable in India, and because of that, now it's an India discoverable price, and they're all deliverable. So many people who want to get cash and carry returns invest in base metals, which helps people holding inventory to finance the inventory through the commodity markets. So it entails buying the near month and selling the next month or the further months. Having gone from mutual funds to AIFs now, in AIFs, the norms are that they cannot invest more than 10% of their investable funds in commodity derivative, in any specific commodity derivative or single commodity. However, they can take leverage up to 2x basis. Am I audible now? Someone's writing, I'm not audible. Okay. Yeah. So they can take leverage up to 2x. They're permitted to go long and short. A custodian they must appoint for this. The ticket size is pretty large, so only large investors or HNIs could invest in AIFs. Now, let me just talk about so what all are the strategies normally people adopt in the commodity markets. So they take arbitrage or cash carry strategies. Then many approach markets through systematic or algorithmic trading. Then there is positional trading. People hedge based on the equity portfolio. So for example, in equities, you have exposure to various commodity related metal stocks, etc. So many people choose to hedge that on commodity derivative exchanges. Then people choose to do calendar spread trading, which is buying one month and selling the another month for the spread. There's segment-wise trading strategy. Some people only focus on certain specific segments like say bullion or base metals or agricultural products. Some do pair trading, like between gold and silver, for example, like there's pair trading done in equity markets between two stocks. And uh, others, they look at the technicals or the fundamental analysis, and they do. So my recommendation to everyone is that whatever strategy you adopt, whenever you approach the commodity markets, please do so with adequate knowledge and understanding, because otherwise, whether it's commodities or any asset class, if you invest without knowledge, the chances of your going wrong are there and losing your money are there. Now, I'd like to speak about the MCX family of indices, which we brand under the iComdex. So we have one composite index, which comprises of our main 11 commodities, which is crude oil, natural gas, aluminium, copper, lead, nickel, zinc, gold, silver, and crude palm oil. Now, apart from this, we have sectoral indices. So we have the MCX iComdex Bullion Index, and we have the MCX iComdex Metals Index. And we have individual stock indices like a gold index or a silver index, etc. However, as and when we launch, we will be looking at the sectoral indices or the composite indices, not the individual stock indices, individual commodity indices. So these indices are basically a composition. So for example, the Bullion index comprises of gold and silver in a certain ratio. So if someone invests or buys the Bullion index, actually you're buying both. I'm buying both gold and silver in a certain proportion. I'm taking exposure to gold and silver in a certain proportion. Similarly, the base metal index will be comprised of 5 base metals: copper, lead, zinc, aluminum, and nickel, in various proportions. So, for example, someone wants to take an exposure to base metals for whatever reason, and not to a specific base metal, then they can buy the base metal index. Similarly, you can short it also depending on your requirements. And the composite index, as I said, comprises of more commodities. So the composite index will be less volatile, ideally, because there will be some commodities going up and some commodities going down. Now, the weightage of these indexes, 75% based on liquidity and 25% based on the physical market size of the last 5 years. And we balance these indices once in a year. Ideally, so once we get approval, we will definitely look at launching these commodity indices, and hope that you will benefit out of this also. Just wanted to leave you with another statistic that, for portfolio diversification, if you have 100% exposure to equities and your Sharpe ratio is around 73, if you make it a 50-50 exposure to equities and commodities, then the Sharpe ratio goes up to 1.06. So overall, better returns for lower volatility is what adding commodities to your portfolio is. I'm not saying only do commodities in your portfolio. You need to be balanced. You need to have all sorts. As I said, you need fats, you need carbohydrates, you need proteins, you need everything. So adding commodities to your portfolio could help in that, to that extent. Now, that's all from me for now. Now I will open up for questions. Forum, can you please moderate it, please?
Yes, sure. So the first question which was asked was from Sanjay Mehta. In India, why government or regulators not focusing to develop commodity ETF? Any specific reasons?
So it's not that the government and regulators not focused. I'm sure that they're very well seized of this. Otherwise, they would not have incentivized and helped the commodity markets grow the way we are. You can only land one plane at a time, and we are getting new products and new participants one by one. It is only when we make one thing successful, then you should launch another. You cannot launch 5 ventures together. So we've got options. We've got we hopefully will get index futures. So one by one things will happen. Mutual funds have just been permitted. Let them work. Then we will see how to expand. Maybe the regulator will see how to expand it. So I'm sure that the government and regulator seized of this.
Okay. So the next question is from no, that I think you have already answered. Yes, so the next question is from Rahul. When we trade in MCX and place a negative price order, it says invalid price, which means we are not have that regime with where, but when it happened in US market, crude oil price goes below $0. That means they were ready for this to happen in future. Is that so?
So the norms for trading in crude oil contracts is already laid out, and the exchange is following and working according to those norms. I would not like to comment on this further.
Next question is from Vikas. Why options in base metal not active?
See, the point is the exchange's role is to launch products which are there for various market participants. That is up to the market participants to participate in them and make them active. We try and facilitate all our members and through them their clients, but it is entirely up to the members and their clients as to where they want to participate or not. The exchange merely provides a platform. So while we would love to see base metal options also to be more active. It's not that they're not active, they're less active than the bullion or crude options. And we love to do that. So the gentleman who's asked this question, I would request that you and everyone else also looks at it. And with overall everyone's participation, only these contracts will become active.
Next question is from Manish. Is Raindex also being considered to be launched?
Does he mean weather derivatives? So if you mean weather derivatives, I don't know as of now.
Yes,
But,
yes, he means.
okay, so if it's talking about weather derivatives, I don't know. I don't think it's on the radar now. But as and when it happens, I that's my personal understanding that it will also help because, for example, there's a farmer today if he does crop insurance and the crop fails, he gets the money. But what if he can't plant at all due to adverse weather conditions? Or say, for example, an ice cream company, if there is the summer is not so strong, or a cola company, or in the winters a woolen apparel company, so they might need to hedge the weather impact on their businesses. So as and when weather derivatives come, maybe it will be helpful for that.
Thank you. Next question is from Akshita. What are the reasons for why commodity trading is only 3%?
See, the problem is that commodity markets started around 2003-4. So we are only 16 years old. We are sweet 16. Equity market started in 94. So they are 26. We are 16. So naturally, if you compare a 16-year-old to a 24-year-old, there is 10 years of more experience and more development in that market. Give us another 10 years and you see how much commodity markets will grow.
Thank you. Next question is from Nilkantan. Since MF banks, etc., participate in commodity markets now, is exchange planning to introduce e-products, e-gold, e-silver, e-copper, etc., as earlier it was available in NSEL spot market? This will help retail investors to diversify their portfolio if reintroduced.
So while I cannot comment on what was there on another exchange earlier, I can comment on what MCX is doing. And as I said, to answer your question, Mr. Nilkantan, is that we already have gold, silver, base metals. They're all deliverable, and you can either take physical delivery or you can take it in demat mode. So demat is an electronic form, so you can take it in demat mode. I mean, there are repositories functioning. We have accounts where you can put it. So basically the physical good is there, however the warehouse receipt is dematerialized, and then you can take ownership of the goods, and if you want you can sell it back or you can take physical. So I think it's the best of both worlds which are available to you already.
Thank you. Next question is from Lakesh. Can mutual fund have 100% commodity funds in India?
No, as I said, the norms is there are only 3 types of funds allowed: hybrid up to 10% of the AUM, multi-asset 30%, and gold ETF 50%.
Next question is from Palkesh. Does demand and supply gap also leads to speculation instead of trading?
Well, I don't know what that question means. So, I mean,
Palkesh, can you please type the question again? Yeah, so he has mentioned, does demand and supply gap also leads to speculation, and how does regulator sees it?
well, I'm not a regulator, so I cannot comment. But what I can say is that the markets have a very robust risk management and surveillance system. So no one can get away with any malified activities on our exchanges in India. We are one of the best governed exchange ecosystems in the world in India.
Thank you. Next question is from Abhinash. How commodity market is affected, especially FMCG and oil sectors, during this pandemic times, and what steps have been taken to address the situations?
So, commodity markets have been affected like everything else in the sense that the physical markets have been, due to lack of movement of goods, etc. But the commodity derivative markets are functioning absolutely smoothly, and there is no problem at all. So, our markets are open throughout the normal working hours for trading.
Next question is from Naveen. What is the current investment from AIF in commodities by value if this data is available anywhere?
You can look it up online. I would know. I don't have it up, on hand right now.
Thank you. Next question is, since you have said commodities is an exciting asset class, what range of returns do commodities provide?
Well, I cannot comment on range of returns. Please do. There's more than enough data available online for you to do your research.
Next question is, what are the kind of restrictions on investment in commodities for category 3 AIFs since they are the least regulated?
As I said, that they have 2x leverage, and they cannot invest more than 10% in one commodity.
Next question is from Harsh. Since the delivery of commodities is now possible, how is the issue of quality dealt with when it comes to perishable commodities?
So every commodity has an exchange deliverable date, FED date, within which the commodity has to be it can be kept within the exchange ecosystem, post which it has to be taken out. So it is this period is normally kept less than the period of perishability of the product. So it is ensured that the product is does not is fit for usage and consumption.
Next question is from Jagan. Is there any opportunity of an arbitrage in metals? If yes, how deep could be the spread?
So there are always opportunities coming up from time to time. You need to check the screen, and whenever there are opportunities, you need to take your own call on that. As an exchange, I cannot comment on this further.
Next question is from Varun. You mentioned there is a negative correlation between commodities and the traditional asset classes. Could you throw some light on the historical returns in comparison? Also, how well has the commodities performed in the last 2 to 3 months, especially after COVID?
So again, I do not talk about returns, but the data is there for everyone to see. If you go online, you will see the data. You can do comparison between commodities and other asset classes, and get your own findings and take a call depending on that.
Thank you. And next question is from Venkateshwar. As farmer, can he take futures to protect his crop instead of insurance?
So while I would not say that don't, I would say that don't give up your insurance, but of course, definitely you can approach futures for hedging your production if the crop you produce is listed on any of the commodity exchanges, and you can do it through FPOs also, which are farmer producer organizations or farmer collectives, so that they can break bulk, because exchange has a specific quantity and quality parameter. So study all those details, and then you're most welcome to approach the exchange, because the exchanges are there to help the farmers hedge their prices and their product produce.
Next question is, why is commodity more risky product than any other equity market?
I didn't say that it is more risky. I said every asset class has its own level of risk, and that is for the investor to find out, because every investor has a different risk profile.
Thanks. Next question is from Amrish. What are the merits of commodity market compared to equity market?
I already spoke for 40 minutes, Amrish.
Next question is from Tanmay. From asset allocation perspective, for a medium risk investor, how much commodity a client can have in his or portfolio as percentage?
So that you have to ask your wealth advisor or your financial advisor. I can speak about commodities, but I cannot advise you. And that will also depend on your risk profile, your age, your asset allocation. So that has to be handled by your financial advisor.
Next question is, what are the restrictions on investment in commodities market for foreign registered hedge funds? Do we have exotic or rare metals like palladium available for trading?
So as I said, foreigners and NRIs are not allowed to invest in the commodity derivative markets as of now, and we do not have these exotic metals as of now.
Any plan to exchange traded premium discount for locations for gold and other commodities? Manish, can you please frame your question? It's little confusing.
Yeah, it's a bit ambiguous.
Yeah, next question is, sorry, you're saying something?
No, I said you can move on to the next question.
Yeah, next question is from Anuj. What was the response by MCX due to sudden negative price of crude? How the traders have reacted on it?
So that whatever has been done is there in the public domain. We have followed the norms. As per the norms, everything has been done.
Next question is from Rahul. Can you elaborate on the Sharpe ratio and how one can increase returns?
So you have to do your own study, Rahul. Again, the advantage is that in today's day and age, there's so much data and information available. It's just that you need to spend time and effort to study, and then you will get whatever knowledge you're seeking.
Yeah, so the question from Manish was tradable locational premium discount, where people can quote their own premium discount for locational delivery.
So what does he want to know about that?
Manish, I will unmute you so that you can speak to the speaker. Yes, Manish.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I want to know that can we trade the premium discount, like there are fixed premium discount for gold delivery other than Ahmedabad, like for Delhi delivery there is a fixed premium discount. Can we make it tradable, like NSE has given some option to trade that premium discount?
Okay, I have taken your suggestion into account. We will consider it.
There was one more person who wanted to speak, Mr. Sanjay Mehta. So I'll unmute him as well. Yes, Mr. Sanjay.
Yes, sir. My main question is the commodity market almost 16 to 18-year-old, and there are so many restrictions. Why regulator and the government is not developing this market? Globally, we saw minimum 24% market share of the commodity. Why it is so low? Also, awareness between the investor trader are not much. Only the actual user knows the commodity market better.
Forum, can you mute him, please?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Now, to answer your question, Mr. Mehta, I'll just give you an example. Suppose, I don't know your age, but suppose you are the father of two children. One is 26 and the other is 16. Would you give equal freedom to both? No. So as the child progresses in age, as the market evolves, you will open up, you will give more facilities, and as the market matures to handle those facilities and grows, then naturally more and more things will be added. So the regulator and the government are helping this commodity market grow. If you see the facts, if you see the statistics, these markets have been growing at a very fast and a very great, nice pace. And thanks to the regulator, thanks to the government, thanks to all the stakeholders, all of you are here listening, thanks to all of you, that these markets are growing in a very mature manner, in a very balanced manner. And as we keep growing, as the markets show maturity, we will see more and more facilities, products, and participants coming in.
Yeah. So I think there is one more question from Abhishek. Is there any measures taken for May and June delivery contract due to COVID?
So everything's been handled normally. We have issued circulars. You can refer to the exchange website.
Is there any minimum volume and participation required for commodity to be listed in MCX market?
So we evaluate the commodities. It's not like a stock. So we evaluate the potential of commodities, and as and when we see a commodity worth being added, and we definitely look at it and add those commodities.
Yes, that was the last question. And yeah, one more last question is why MCX is not launching more agri products from Recurve?
Okay, so we look at various products, and as and when we are already exploring certain products, they are in the pipeline. As and when we see the opportunity, we will definitely approach the regulator to get permission and launch those products.
Yes, that was the last question.
Thank you. Thank you all for patiently listening to me, and thank you for giving your time. And as I said, please do your adequate research, trade with knowledge, then you will be able to trade well. Whatever you do, invest with knowledge, approach the markets after doing your due study and diligence, keeping in mind all the risks involved. So if you're aware of the knowledge and you know the risks, then the chances of your being successful are higher. So thank you very much. It has been indeed a very big pleasure to talk to all of you, and thanks again to Forum, Aditya, and AIWMI and IAIF for inviting me here and getting me to speak. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Rishi, and thank you everyone. Stay safe.